The village was quiet that morning, the sun peeking over the horizon and casting long shadows across the mud huts. In the center of it all stood a beautiful young woman named Amara, renowned throughout the region not just for her beauty but for her strength and resilience. Amara was only 24, but her life had been anything but typical. She was married to a man named Kofi, a hard-working farmer, and together they had built a life filled with love, though not without its challenges. Amara's journey into motherhood had begun like most others, with joy, anticipation, and dreams of a happy family. But when she found out she was pregnant, no one could have predicted the extraordinary path that would follow. Amara's belly grew, and soon, it became clear that this would not be a normal pregnancy. The village midwives had their suspicions, but they dared not speak them aloud. Then one night, it happened. Amara's water broke, and Kofi rushed her to the small clinic that served their village. The doctors there were stunned by what they saw. 7, they whispered in disbelief. 7 babies. It was an almost impossible scenario. Amara's body was not prepared for this. The pregnancy was exhausting, and as the weeks passed, her strength began to wane. The villagers whispered behind her back, marveling at her ability to carry all 7 babies, but their words were never kind. They wondered how she would survive such a daunting challenge, how her body would cope, how her marriage would fare under the weight of such an unusual burden. But Amara was determined. She had no choice. Her love for Kofi was the only thing that kept her going through the sleepless nights and the excruciating pain. Each day brought new challenges: swelling, dizziness, and an aching body that refused to stop. But Amara never complained. She kept her head high and her heart full of hope, even as the entire village seemed to hold its breath. The day came when Amara went into labor, a painful and terrifying experience for both her and Kofi. The delivery was long and grueling, but Amara's determination was unshakable. She gave birth to 7 healthy children, each one more beautiful than the last. However, despite the joy of having given life to so many, the exhaustion on Amara's face was palpable. Her body had endured unimaginable strain, and though she smiled at the sight of her babies, her eyes reflected a deeper pain that no one could truly understand. In the days that followed, Kofi remained by her side, constantly checking on her and the babies. But Amara knew something was different about her husband. He seemed distant, lost in thought, as though he had something weighing on his mind. She didn't ask, didn't push. Instead, she focused on the babies, on the overwhelming love she felt for them, even as she battled the intense physical toll of their birth. One evening, as Amara rested in bed, her body aching from the ordeal, Kofi sat at her side, a mysterious look in his eyes. He seemed to have something to say, something important, but he hesitated. It wasn't like him. The suspense hung in the air like a heavy fog, leaving Amara's heart racing as she waited for him to speak. What could it be? What was it that Kofi had to tell her? And then, just as Amara began to wonder if her husband would ever speak, Kofi stood up. His face a mixture of excitement and nervousness. "I have a surprise for you," he said softly, his voice trembling with anticipation. Amara blinked in confusion, but before she could respond, Kofi disappeared out the door, leaving her alone with her thoughts. Amara lay in the quiet darkness, her mind racing with possibilities. What could Kofi's surprise be? Was it for the babies? Maybe a new home or a grand gesture to show how much he appreciated everything she had endured. But there was an unsettling feeling in the pit of her stomach. What if it was something else? Something that she wasn't prepared for. Minutes passed like hours, and the tension only grew. The babies slept soundly beside her, their tiny chests rising and falling in peaceful unison. Amara closed her eyes for a moment, but the weight of the unknown kept her from truly resting. Kofi finally returned, his steps lighter than usual, as though he had shed the burden of his own uncertainty. In his hands, he had something wrapped carefully in a cloth, and his eyes sparkled with excitement. He approached Amara slowly, as if savoring the moment. "I know this has been hard, more than I can imagine," he began, his voice soft but steady. "But I wanted to give you something. A gift that will make everything better. Amara sat up, her heart fluttering with a mix of confusion and curiosity. She had no idea what to expect, but the way Kofi looked at her, so full of hope, made her nervous yet eager to understand what was happening. With a gentle movement, Kofi unfolded the cloth in his hands, revealing a small wooden chest. It was intricately carved, with delicate patterns that Amara had never seen before. The wood seemed to shimmer faintly in the dim light, as though it held some kind of secret. He set it down on the bed in front of her and gently lifted the lid. Inside the chest lay something that made Amara's breath catch in her throat. It wasn't a piece of jewelry, nor was it something she had expected. Instead, it was a collection of beautiful, vibrant fabrics, rich colors of deep red, royal blue, and golden yellow, all woven together into a stunning quilt. But it wasn't just any quilt. Each square of fabric was embroidered with symbols, some of which Amara recognized, others that were foreign to her. It was a map, a tapestry of her life, her journey, her family. Kofi's voice broke the silence. "This is for you. For us. It's not just any quilt, Amara. It represents our journey, the struggles we've been through, and the beauty that lies ahead." Amara's eyes filled with tears. She hadn't realized how much she had longed for something like this, something that acknowledged not just the pain she'd endured, but the love and strength that had carried her through. This was a tangible symbol of everything they had built together, despite the challenges. "Each square," Kofi continued, "represents a step in our journey. The red symbolizes the strength of your spirit. The blue represents the calm after the storm. And the yellow? It's for the joy that's coming into our lives, the hope that we've always held on to." Amara ran her fingers over the fabric, her heart swelling with emotion. For the first time in months, she felt truly seen, understood. The pain of the pregnancy, the sleepless nights, the whispers of the village, they all seemed to fade into the background, as if this quilt held the power to shield her from everything that had been weighing on her. Kofi's surprise had not been a grand gesture or material possession, but something far more meaningful. It was a piece of their shared life, a representation of the love and sacrifices they had made together. The babies stirred in their sleep, and Amara smiled through her tears. As she looked at the quilt, she realized that the future was still unwritten. The road ahead would undoubtedly be difficult, but with Kofi by her side, she knew she could face anything. "Thank you," Amara whispered, her voice thick with emotion. This is everything." Kofi smiled, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It's nothing compared to what you've given me, Amara. Together we'll build a future. And this quilt is just the beginning." As the night wore on, Amara finally felt a sense of peace wash over her. Despite the challenges, despite the exhaustion, she knew one thing for sure. She was loved. And that, more than anything, was the greatest gift of all.